Kat, you're going to introduce?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Did you guys, did you do them at the time? Okay. Good afternoon. Welcome to Church of the Redeemer and our Friday series. I'm Catherine Munns, the interim rector here, and we're certainly glad that you are here to be with Julie and David today. Julie Hanify and David Mahler have sung together professionally and for pleasure at home for more than 20 years. Their songs have reached listeners in many parts of the country at legitimate venues, as well as for impromptu occasions. Julie and David delight in warbling overlooked songs that have aged well, and they equally love pulling the cork on new numbers. Julie Hanify's voice has decorated weddings, including her own, graced funerals, not her own, and blended for the birds at Homewood Cemetery during the pandemic summer season. She manages the music, film, and audio department at Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh in Oakland. David Mahler composes and arranges for a variety of musicians and circumstances and engages in private music instruction. A favorite pastime activity took place in the harmonious community of Lamont, Pennsylvania, where David served for a month as listener in residence. So it is with great pleasure that I introduce to you now Julie and David from the Sanctuary of Redeemer Church.
Hello and welcome. My name is David Mahler. I'm joined by Julie Hanify. We're delighted to present this program entitled Real Good for Free. Our subject is music shared in an unpremeditated manner, not improvised, but spur of the moment, impromptu, out of the blue. I like to use the term guerrilla music making as another way of describing what Julie and I, and sometimes with friends, like to do. I want to clarify that Real Good for Free, which comes from an old Joni Mitchell song title, is not the same as busking or making music for donations. Rather, it is music simply launched into the air for the pleasure of it, usually as a kind of offering. Here, I hope you like this. In these pandemic times, singing, greatly curtailed, has taken a beating. Much of what we share with you now comes from pre-pandemic experiences with hopes for a song-filled future. Our presentation will include songs that Julie and I will sing, a visit with George Ives and his son Charles, the composer, and a few personal recollections. Here's one now. Mr. Comeback. My earliest recall of something I would call guerrilla music making peeks out from the folds of memories of my childhood in the Chicago commuter rail suburb of Hinsdale. A tall, ancient man, white hair, dressed in black suit, black vest, black high-top shoes, sometimes walked past our house at 4th and Grant Streets when I was playing outside. In the summertime, perhaps I would be playing and he would walk and he would stop and he would dip into the vest pocket of his suit and he would pull out a shiny harmonica and he would play for me, most memorably, Stephen Foster's "Oh, Suzanne." Old Mr. Comeback and his little wife lived in a stuccoed house near 5th and Grant, just down the street from us. Their house, painted a pale sunbeam yellow, resembled the cheer that resulted. as Mr. Comeback's breath propelled his silver mouth harp. No one asked him to play. Neither he nor I had advance notice of when the music might begin. For his gift of music, he received no fee, and he had only a simple performance space, which was the whole world that belonged to this little boy. Cows take a vacation, moo, moo. Cows take a vacation every day. Wait a minute. I forgot to mention another part of the program. It's my invention called the powerless, pointless presentation. I like to make a presentation that is pointless, except in fact, I am going to point at the screen up here where you are going to bring the power to picture the image that's up there. Cows Take a Vacation comes from a trip that we took to Kansas City, visiting family. My granddaughter, who was 7 at the time, heard Julie and me sing Cows Take a Vacation over and over during the few days that we visited. And she picked it up and sang too. One night after barbecue out, we went to the incredible Betty Ray's ice cream parlor, where they served, yes, they did, burnt ends ice cream, barbecue ice cream with barbecue sauce, if you so chose. But we were sitting there, and in the image you can see right next to me are 2 young ladies. They are college students they are students at the University of Missouri in Kansas City. And they came out for ice cream. I chatted with them a little bit, found out they were heading to graduate school next year. At a certain point, I looked over this crowded ice cream parlor and I said, "Hey, Lydia," my granddaughter's name, "come on over." And she came with Julia and me, and I said to the young ladies, "We could sing something for you. Would you like that?" Well, what could they say? They said, "Of course, that would be great." And the 3 of us sang, "Cows take a vacation, moo, moo. Cows take a vacation every day. Cows take a vacation.
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 Cows take a
Every
vacation
every day, every day. Not long after that, when Julie and I returned home to Pittsburgh, I said, "Livia needs her own round." And so I wrote a round for her, a round that we have sung many times. I like to think of some of the rounds that we sing as maybe sort of like jokes that public speakers have in their pocket and they can pull out at any time. And, hey, here's a good one, even though they've said it 100 times. We've sung some of these rounds 100 times. This is a round that I wrote for Lydia. We love to sing for children, just in passing as we encounter them on the street or with mom taking a child out for a walk. And we sang this one morning at Phipps Conservatory. We happened to be inside and probably using the restroom when a van of children was dropped off, a van load of children with their chaperones. The children came inside and lined up along the wall. And while they were lined up, their chaperone or chaperones went and got tickets. The kids were there, and Julie and I walked past, and I said, "Okay." And we sang this round for them. You'll see, here's an image of those children lined up. There's one boy you can pick out who is singing along with us, which is great. There's another boy who's like this. He was totally embarrassed by someone singing to him, I think. But here's what we sang. My favorite song to sing is one I sing with you. My favorite song to sing is one I sing with you. My favorite song to sing, my favorite song to sing is one I sing with you.
Sing with you.
My favorite
song to sing is one I sing with you.
My favorite song to sing is one I sing with you. My favorite song to sing is one I sing with you. My favorite song to sing, my favorite song to sing is one I sing
is one I
with
sing with
Sing
you.
with me, my favorite song to sing is one I sing with you. My favorite song to sing is one I sing with you. My favorite song to sing, my favorite song to sing is one I sing with you. Another round that's a pull out of your pocket and use anytime round is a round that we sing oftentimes in, not oftentimes, but frequently we have done it in restaurants, especially at the end of the evening or if it's not too crowded. And we've sung it, I know we've sung it at Silk Elephant here on Squirrel Hill, various other places in Seattle, and at a Kansas City bakery after my small grandson knocked a dish on the floor and shattered it, and the help was so kind to come over and clean it up and say, hey, no problem. We sang this for the restaurant workers there. Your kitchen looks so clean, domestic and serene. You took the dirty dishes and hid them. Now your kitchen sparkles like a snapping turtle crawling out of the water. Thanks for cleaning up the mess.
Your kitchen looks so clean.
Your kitchen looks so clean.
You took
Domestic and serene. You took the dirty dishes and hid them. Now your kitchen sparkles like a snapping turtle. Thanks for cleaning up the water. Thanks for cleaning up the soup. Your kitchen looks so clean.
You took
Domestic and serene. You took the dirty dishes and hid them. Now your kitchen sparkles like a snapping turtle crawling out of the water. Thanks for cleaning up the pizza. The 500 mile per hour audience. On December 15th, 1966, as a member of my college choir, I had the opportunity to sing in the presence of President Lyndon Johnson and First Lady Bird Johnson at the annual Christmas tree lighting ceremony in Washington, D.C. That was fun. Our finest performance, however, was on the flight from Chicago to Washington, D.C., the night flight. Our repertoire included the buoyant and rhythmically crackling William Billings composition with the tune name of Shiloh, well rehearsed and eager to share our memorized tunes. The 40 young women and men of the choir needed no more than a quiet word and a centering pitch from our youthful conductor, Thomas Gishin, who stood in the aisle of the aircraft, and then the downbeat. Wouldn't you like to have been there, an innocent flystander on that aircraft, startled by Billings' opening lyrics, perhaps while you're looking out the window? Methinks I see an heavenly host of angels on the wing. Airports now and again have allowed us to do some impromptu singing, some guerrilla singing. I can think of Seattle-Tacoma Airport as one instance. Here's another. This is from the Kansas City Airport. Airports are kind of airports, but they're extra special when they have a public piano there. And there was a public piano at the Kansas City Airport. We were early for our flight, early enough that we could go up to this second level where a few folks were having coffee. And, ooh, there's a piano I'm going to play. I played a little bit of a rag called, amazingly enough, Roberto Clemente by David Thomas Roberts, like so.
David, our flight's boarding.
Let's go. Another airport that we encountered that had a piano was San Jose. And we had a little time to sit down. There were hardly any people around, and we had had a chance to sing together much for a while. Great, let's go to this piano, and we sang a favorite tango tune written by Rosamond Johnson. If you don't know the name, you might know that he wrote Lift Every Voice and Sing, the Black National Anthem. But he wrote show tunes and popular songs too. And this is this great 1914 Tango Dreams by Rosamond Johnson that we sang in the San Jose Airport.
Come dance to the tango, that modern fandango. Just hold me so close, dear. I'll never have fear of a slip or fall. There's no other dancing that's half so entrancing. And I love the tango, the best of them all. way to the lancers and old-fashioned dancers. Hats off to the tango, for it is the fad of society. Oh, dip me and whirl me, and turn me and twirl me. Come dance to the tango, come dance it with me. Come dance to the tango, that modern fandango. Just hold me so close, dear, I'll never have fear of a slip or fall. There's no other dancing that's just so entrancing. And I love the tango, the best, the best, the best of them all.
You may have picked up on the fact that there are a lot of rounds that we like to sing, great songs to sing in impromptu settings, especially topical rounds that seem to fit in with certain situations. Why rounds? Some songs that we sing are rounds.
Some songs that we sing are
a simple form of imitation.
The round, a simple form of
ideal
imitation.
For teaching, progresses from a single melody.
Teaching
to
progresses from a
real
single melody.
Counterpoint.
To
one other
real
thing.
Counterpoint.
Rounds are
other thing.
Short.
Rounds are short.
I'm going to put up another image here for you to look at. This is a hospital room. The patient in the bed is actually me. And Julie is standing next to me. And you can see beyond me, we're kind of looking over my shoulder, over the bed shoulder. Beyond me is a doctor. He's smiling. And about 5 members of his staff there, his nurse and some other people who assisted in the orthopedic surgery procedure that I underwent. And the reason he's smiling, I think, has to do with the fact that when he and his staff came in to the hospital room, Julie and I had already planned that we would sing a number for them. Come all of you from other parts, both city folk and rural, and listen while I tell you this, the word y'all is plural. Come all of you from other parts, both city folk and rural, and listen while I tell you this, the word y'all is plural. Come all of you from other parts, both city folk and rural, and listen while I tell you this, the word y'all is plural. Welcome, all, welcome, welcome, y'all is plural. Welcome, all, welcome to y'all. My surgeon looked over and said, "Oh, I can see you're not feeling so well." We sang this another time. That comes to mind. We were in Chicago. I think on Michigan Avenue, there's Eddie Bauer store. Wherever it is, we walked in. And the greeter at the door said, "Good morning. How are you all doing?" Julie and I looked at each other. Go. Come all of you from other parts, both city folk and rural. Come all of you from steady focused roll, and listen, come, I tell you this, welcome is y'all. Welcome, all welcome, welcome to y'all. Here's another medical room. This is an eye examination room. And I had also eye surgery a couple of years ago, perhaps. The surgeon was, in both cases, in both of these surgeries, the surgeons were extraordinary caregivers, delightful people with sense of humor. Ooh, I like that. And in this case, there's some sadness going on. You can see the doctor here. She is leaving the practice in Pittsburgh to go elsewhere. And we so loved her. And this is our last visit after various checkups on the surgery that I had undergone. And so Julie and I felt singing for her would be really nice. This is a beautiful song written by Pete Seeger. The autumn wind whispered, don't be afraid. The winter snows will soon be here. If we stick together, work together, sing together now. When spring comes round again, you will still be here. The autumn wind whispered, don't be afraid. The winter snows will soon be here. If we stick together, work together, sing together now. When spring comes round again, we will still be here. Still be here. Yeah, I'm going to change images again. We were traveling, I think we were in Philadelphia. Julie had a conference. I tagged along. And then we went to Lancaster for the first time. And from Lancaster, we went north a little bit to the town of Lidditz, Pennsylvania, which we were fascinated by. It was a Sunday morning, and we were late to actually go into the Moravian church, which is in Lidditz. But we wandered up to it and wandered by. And just as we did, a couple came out of church and locked the door and introduced themselves. We told them who we were and what we were doing there. Dear people, she, it turns out, ran the Moravian bookstore at the church there and said, well, I'm going over to the bookstore. Why don't you come? And I said, okay, yes, because the idea of finding a Moravian hymnal there appealed to me greatly. And we went in and had a wonderful chat. And we talked music because he was a brass player, of course, in the Moravian congregation. And we sang this song for them, which is a shaker round. And let's do this. The Lord will comfort Zion. The Lord will comfort Zion. Will comfort Zion. The Lord will comfort Zion. The Lord will comfort
comfort Zion.
You may be singing along on rounds. I hope you are. We'll repeat verses of rounds on occasion enough that you can certainly jump in. Here's one more image that has to do with a round. Unfortunately, in this case, a round that really didn't get sung to the proper recipient. This image is the Squirrel Hill Farmers Market. On Sunday mornings, especially during the pandemic, it's not just a place to buy great food, but it's kind of a social meeting place. We love many of the vendors there, and I've written a few rounds by which we can salute these vendors. And we've had the opportunity to sing maybe just one, and the other two were cut short by the pandemic. Here's one that I wrote for McElhaney Farms. Dependable sweet corn all summer long. And Julie and I have sung this for ourselves. We've sung it with our dear friend Julia Menti, who forms the third part of the round singing trio sometimes. But this is in lieu of performing it for McElhaney Farms. We'll sing it right now.
Corn, sweet corn, steep sweet corn, McElhaney Farm sweet corn, 16 rows of kernels to the ear. Hear me cry, sweet corn, sweet you should know it's sweet till you have that corn, baby.
Hear me cry,
That sweet
corn, sweetie, you don't know sweet till you have
sweet corn, McElhaney Farm sweet corn, 16 rows of kernels to the ear. Hear me cry, sweet corn, sweet you don't know sweet till you have that corn, baby.
Hear me cry,
Sweet
corn, sweetie, you don't know sweet till you have that corn, baby. That sweet corn. That sweet corn. Here comes composer Charles Ives, 1874-1954. What is he doing here? These aspects of Ives' music seem relevant, even though Ives was not necessarily a guerrilla performer or a singer. But Ives inclined toward trying things out with his music. Surprises. I wonder what would happen if we did this. Ives savored space as a musical element. When asked if he didn't think that broadcast radio in its infancy would be a great boon to music, Ives thought, and he said, probably not, because the music would all come out in a clump. He was missing the spatial aspect. And Ives valued memory in music, as in the lyric written by James Fenimore Cooper Jr. that Ives used in his song Afterglow. Every lightest fantasy lovelier grows in memory, where the truer beauties lie. Ives' father, George, led the town band in Danbury, Connecticut, when Charles Ives was growing up. And George was Charles Ives' sonic hero. He was Ives' first and best music teacher. George Ives taught Charlie how to sing when he was just a boy, teaching him to sing in A flat while the piano played in C. And if you should ask George why he did it, this was his reply: to toughen up his ears.
George Ives taught Charlie how to sing when he was just a boy, teaching him to sing in A flat while the piano played in C. And if you should ask George why he did it, this was his reply: to toughen up his ears.
Charles Ives liked to tell the story of when he was a boy, and his father said, "Charlie, come on, we're going to the lake." They went to the lake, and George Ives said, "Charlie, you stay here. I'm going the other side of the lake. And I want you to tell me what you hear. What does it sound like when I play my cornet on the other side of the lake?" So George went over on the other side, and he played on the cornet and came back and got the report from Charlie. Many years later, Charles Ives wrote this very, very brief song commemorating that experience. A sound of a distant horn or shadowed lake is born, my father's song. In this song, you will hear the piano being the echo to the song. Julie sings the song, the piano echoes it, and that's what Charlie heard.
A sound of a distant horn, or shadows lake is born, my father's song.
My Charles Ives remembrance moment. Many times for single days or several, and one summer for 2 perfect months, I lived in Port Townsend on the Olympic Peninsula of Washington State. My usual residence was a cottage at Fort Worden State Park. One Memorial Day, I stepped out of the Fort Worden cottage and received a message through the air. About a mile from where I stood was a small military cemetery, white uniform markers on a green field. On this Memorial Day, a lone bugler stood among the tombstones and blew. And like a stone weathered by water or a page yellowed by time, the sound he made lost and gained on its way to my ears. When George Ives was a band conductor, he dreamed up some zany things, like splitting up his band in 2 parts, with each one playing a different tune at the same time. One band marched from south on Main Street, while the other marched from north. And George stood in the center, smiling, just to hear the glorious sound.
When George Ives was a band conductor, he dreamed up some zany things, like splitting up his band in 2 parts, with each one playing a different tune. One band marched from south on Main Street, while
George
the
stood
other
in the
marched from
center smiling
door.
just to hear
George
the
stood in the
glorious
center
sound.
smiling just to hear the glorious sound.
Charles Ives' song called Memories is really two songs in one. The first is a memory of probably the Opera House in Danbury, Connecticut, where he grew up. Next time you're in Danbury or nearby, take time to go see the town, imagine it the way Charles Ives knew it. You'll find Harmony Street or Harmony Way, named after Charles Ives' wife, aptly named Harmony. And it's very touching experience to go there. So here's Ives at the Opera House as a young boy, listening or about to listen to a concert, a performance. But then all of a sudden the song shifts into the piece shifts into a second song, and he hears from outside the sounds of someone humming, his uncle humming. And so he's juxtaposing this sort of official music situation with this impromptu situation outdoors. Memories.
We're sitting in the opera house, the opera house, the opera house. We're waiting for the curtain to arise with wonders for our eyes. We're feeling pretty gay and well we may. Oh Jimmy, look, I say, the band is tuning up and soon we'll start to play. We whistle and we hum, beat time with the drum. We whistle and we hum, beat time with the drum. We're sitting in the opera house, the opera house, the opera house, waiting for the curtain to rise with wonders for our eyes. A feeling of expectancy, a certain kind of ecstasy, expectancy and ecstasy, expectancy and ecstasy. From the street a strain on my ear doth fall. A tune as threadbare as that old red shawl. It is tattered, it is torn, it shows signs of being worn. It's the tune my uncle hummed from early morn. 'Twas a common little thing and kinda sweet, but 'twas sad and seemed to slow up both his feet. I can see him shuffling down to the barn or to the town.
Here's one more piece from Charles Ives. This is called Down East. As you may well know, Ives loved to quote other musics. This is filled with the memory of the sound of the hymn, Nearer My God to Thee, the Lowell Mason Bethany tune that is so common. This song Down East seems to inform so much of what Ives did and relates, in my mind, very much to the idea of singing to or being sung to and the memory that one takes from that. This is Down East.
Song Sing deep in memory, draws my heart where I would be, nearer to thee. Every Sunday morning when the chores were almost done, from that little parlor sounds the open holy bell. Nearer, my God, to thee, nearer to thee. With those strains, a stronger hope comes. Nearer to me.
We'll sing. I'll change image, but it's nighttime. You're not going to see too much, and that's fine. This is a Quaker-style memorial for a neighbor of ours, a Quaker-style memorial that was held at Garden Dreams Nursery. It's evening. Anyone is welcome to speak or sing, and certainly silence is welcome too. Here's a Shaker song that Julie and I chose to sing that evening from in back of the crowd of mourners, crowd of friends, crowd of celebrants. Oh, come away, where the fig tree forever is bearing, where the flocks and the herds are so pleasant and gay, and the desert a sweet smile is wearing. Oh, come away, where the fig tree forever is bearing, where the flocks and the herds are so pleasant and gay, and the desert a sweet smile is wearing, and the wilderness restored to her glory, the tongue of the dumb speechlessly singing. Oh, grave, oh, where is thy victory? Oh, death, where is thy sting? And the wilderness restored to her glory, the tongue of the dumb speechlessly singing. Oh, grave, oh, where is thy victory? Oh, death, where is thy sting? I'll switch this once more. We're backstage at Carnegie Lecture Hall, where there are concerts. Calliope presented a concert with the folk singer Jean Ritchie, whose music especially appeals to Julie and me. This was in 2011, and we were there, and so was our young friend, Julia Menti. We had been singing a Jean Ritchie round, and at intermission, we got together and said, wouldn't she like to hear us sing her round for her? Let's go find her. So backstage, of course, there's a green room for the performers to hang out. There's Jean Ritchie and her husband, George Pickow, the photographer. And they're sitting and relaxing, waiting for the second half to start. And a little apprehensively, but we poke our heads in the door and say, "Hi, Jean, we wondered if you would like to hear us sing a song of yours." And she said, "Sure, come on in." And with a huge smile on her face. I think here of in Kansas City on the wall, big concrete wall of a building, maybe 2-3 stories high, someone, an artist, has painted in white letters, "I let a stranger sing to me," which I feel that Jean Ritchie was so gracious, people she didn't know, and we sang her round. You're certainly welcome to sing along with this. This is called the Peace Round. Oh, what a goodly thing if the children of all men could dwell together in peace. Oh, what a goodly thing if the children of all men could dwell together in peace. Oh, what a goodly thing if the children of all men could dwell together in peace. Oh, what a goodly thing if the children of all men could dwell together in peace. Oh, what a goodly thing if the children of all men could dwell together in peace. In peace. We're going to close with one more Jean Ritchie song, not one that we have ever sung to the best of my memory in an impromptu or guerrilla situation, but a song we love to sing and speaks about the beauty of the singing voice, the sound of the human voice. This is called Early Fields by Jean Ritchie.
As I walked over the early fields, I heard a song of morning. It fell around me like the rain that washes off the morning. Oh, I love the pipes and I love the drum. I love the wild harp ringing. But there's naught on earth can match the sound of one clear voice singing.
So far away the words were dear, and yet I knew their sadness. I knew the peace, I knew the pain, I knew the joy and gladness.
pipes and the drum ringing. But there's not on earth can match the sound of one clear voice singing. And still I walk my fields in vain, as evening shadows linger. But a better journey have I had in searching for the singer. Oh, I love the pipes and I love the drum, and I love the wild harp, the pipes and the drum ringing. But there's not on earth can match the sound of one clear voice singing, singing, singing.